if I go through this season and I learn something that I get to share with somebody one day, then it's worth it.
And all of a sudden, I'm driving the bike and he's hanging on for dear life because I think I know better how to do my life than him.
Welcome, Woven Ones. This is Generation Woven, where the voices of three generations blend into one tapestry of truth, laughter, love, and life.
There's an invisible thread that ties us all through the rises, through the falls. We are stronger when we stand as one, together shining like the sun.
There's a particular kind of heartbreak that comes when you stayed faithful, done the right things, and still hit another wall. I know, because I've been there. And today, I would like to share my story of what followed. This episode is about what it really takes to move from barely making it every day, a season of pain, to daring to hope again. No shortcuts, no sugarcoating. So if you're in a difficult season right now, this episode is for you. So I want to tell you because I know somebody asked about my divorce and we didn't go into too much detail. And I thought that the reason for that is when you go on with life, sometimes you push away the things that were painful because you don't want to think about them too much and you've moved on. But I think it's good to sometimes go back there and visit everything that you have gone through. You know, the hope, the faith, and the peace. So, probably the most difficult part for me in that season was that I really tried my best to be a good wife, but somewhere it just didn't work. And my husband at the time then decided, or we both decided, that he was going to move to a different state and we're going to give it 3 months and see how we feel. But in that 3 months, all the old things that I didn't deal with came out, the rejection, the not good enough, and it came to visit me. It was ugly. It was honest. It didn't feel poetic. But you know what? I had faith. I had faith that I would get through that. And I had a daughter that was in pain. And for both of us, going through that, understanding what had happened, who we are, and fixing our relationship was everything that we had to go through on a day to day basis. Besides the fact that I had my own business and had to bring in some money. And through that season, I remember that there came a time where I had to surrender. And I remember in my kitchen, I had a whiteboard, a little whiteboard that I wrote, "Let me suffer well." The pain was tough, but I remember and I said, if I go through this season and I learn something and I get something that I get to share with somebody one day, then it's worth it. It didn't mean I stopped trying. It didn't mean that my faith stopped. It didn't mean that I stopped hoping that I could fix it. But it did show me that you get to a point where the evidence is pretty daunting, that things are not going to work out the way you want it to. But I can tell you now, 10 years later, it's better. We grow, and through the stumbling blocks and through the pain, we become something totally different. Which, if I have to look back now, I don't know if I would have been that person. I doubt it. I look at my daughter, who's a wonderful young woman, and I don't know if that would have been her if I had stayed, if we had stayed. So finally, I know that I found my peace after the surrender. So hope, faith, and peace is what we're going to talk about today. That moment of surrender, the control of trying to change the outcome. That moment when you just accept it. Stop treading water and start moving towards a slow and intentional new beginning. So, we're going to talk about that today. And we're also going to talk about the fact that sometimes you have these amazing friends that come alongside you and they want to give you hope, but they do it in the wrong way because they don't know any better. My story is about a friend that came over, and you know what? She didn't say a word, not even one word. She sat with me and we cried together for a whole hour, and then she left. That for me was raw, authentic, and I needed that. I felt so much peace when she left.
I've had so many of those moments,
Yeah.
but I like to look at it as an analogy. It's like I'm on a tandem bike. I hope, I have faith, I believe, and, God's in charge. He's steering the bike, and I'm on the back hanging on for dear life. And we go through this tunnel. And all of a sudden, I'm driving the bike, and he's hanging on for dear life because I think I know better how
Oh.
to
Mm.
do my life than him. What a sad awakening when you realize this isn't working.
Mm.
Get back on the back seat and let God guide and hang on, because it's going to be one wonderful trip. And the thing is that you said surrender. I talk about it as letting go of everything totally, and being still long enough to see what God has in store for you.
Mm.
So if you're on that tandem bike and you keep trying to drive it, I'm going to tell you right now, let it go.
Let it go.
And that's very much what it seems like you did, right? Would you
Mhm.
say
I got there
would you say you
eventually.
did that?
Yeah, you had to, because I think what we do is we are so fixated on this is the outcome I want to have. And it's if a friend would have said to you, but what if there's something different, something better? But you need to internalize that, and that takes a while.
Mhm.
But when you get to the point of hope and possibility that there is something better, then you can literally let go.
But sometimes you just got to let go in order to find that. I mean,
That's
or
true.
to see it.
So before you finally let go, I think prior to that was probably the denial phase that everything was
The
okay.
denial came first.
Yes.
Denial
So
is
you were
definitely
in that
first.
denial phase probably
Mhm.
during the marriage.
Yeah, there were red flags, and I chose not to acknowledge that.
How do we know we're in the denial phase? I think that's the part where we say we're fine. And
That fine.
Fine.
where we say we're fine
Yes.
and don't realize that things are just kind of crumbling around us, but we just keep
Holding on.
holding on and denying the problem. So how do you ladies identify the denial phase? Like, how do we know we're in it?
Well, I want to say that I think through the denial phase, there's a lack of communication. Because if
Mhm.
you are in good communication, if you have a relationship and you communicate, even if it's just, honey, I think something is wrong, just that you might not know what it is, but not even talking about that, just going on with your life in spite of the not
Kind of
talking.
ignoring it.
Yeah. And sometimes we do that. It's easier.
Yes, because confronting it is tough. So that kind of
But
keeps
not
us
every
stuck.
relationship has the ability to communicate
Mm.
with each other.
That's true.
And there in itself is a struggle that until you let go of that,
Mm.
you don't realize there's the possibility of actually having a relationship where you can have good, healthy communication.
Right.
Well, and I get there probably are some. I feel like there's more relationships where there could have been an opportunity to communicate with your partner or with a friend or whoever it is, but we don't know how.
Yeah,
And I
that's
think
true.
that's something where, I've even learned from you, Judy, is how to communicate, because we're not taught
Mm.
that. It's just
True.
we grow up and we see denial in our family. We see avoidance. We see these things and we think that's normal
Mhm.
until we learn how to communicate. And, I've experienced that feeling of when I tried to say something or express a feeling, I literally felt like I was choking. I could feel it in my throat if I tried to communicate a need or something that was bothering me. And I would get physically
Like
feeling like
walking into
choking.
a room alone, isn't it?
Not quite as bad. I would
Mm.
say walking in a room alone is something for me that was easier than talking about how I felt.
Really?
Oh.
Yes.
That's
Yes.
interesting.
But
Yeah.
why are we so scared to actually tell somebody how we feel? Is it based on we feel like we're going to be rejected when we
Well,
say
we're
that?
vulnerable when we lay it out on the
And it's
line.
not
Mhm.
safe,
Yeah, and
Because you don't know how they're going to react.
but you don't know how they're going to react anyway.
But it's almost like if we say it, then we're exposing. Saying the words is exposing our inside, and then that's where we
Yes.
protect ourselves. Yeah, I think it's a protection.
something I wanted to bring up before I forget it. You talked about the girlfriend that came over and
Mhm.
cried with you for an
Mm.
hour. I remember a dear friend of mine was going through a rough time, and she called, and I said, "How's it going?" "Oh, it's not going good at all." And I said, "Do you need a friend?" "Oh, would you mind coming over and having a cup of coffee?" Went over. We had coffee for the next hour or two. I don't even, it seemed like quite a while, but she went on and on and on and just dumped.
Mm.
And I said, I hear you. Yeah. So how's that make you feel? Basically, that was my part of the conversation.
And that's okay.
That was
At
it.
the
That was
end
all
of the
that you needed.
conversation, she gives me a hug and said,
Thank you.
"You don't know how much that meant to have this conversation. It was the best conversation I've had in a long, long time." And I'm thinking,
It was a monologue.
And sometimes we
Yeah.
just need someone to listen.
We
That
talked about
kind of
that.
goes back to the do you
Yes.
want my advice or do you want me to listen?
Mm.
And I think even asking someone just to come and listen is a hard thing for people to not to interrupt, but to ask for help. That's another piece where I think we have troubles. But I guess getting back to our main theme here of hope, faith, and peace, which all kind of comes back to it, is once you get to the hope, right? You've got the
Yeah.
denial. Before that you were the pain, the denial, the little bit of the letting go, because
anger comes in there too.
but hope is
The next
hope's
piece.
coming,
Yeah.
right? It's like you're getting to that point of seeing the light, the brightness that can be, but that bridge to get from the pain to the hope, sometimes it takes a lot to get out of the tough, stuck spot.
I was always looking for the light at the end of the tunnel, and I always thought, did I pay my electric bill?
Oh my God.
Judy.
So anyway,
You know what? One of the most amazing advice my mom had given me was that everything has a season.
Mhm.
And I think it would be so great for somebody to say that to a friend, or for you to say that to yourself. Listen, this is a phase. It might suck right now, but it's a phase, and every phase has a beginning, a middle, and an end. And at some point, this phase will be over. There will be something new. So don't give up right now, but experience every part of the feeling and the emotion. And then when you go to bed tonight, you know what? Just give it to God, because it's too heavy to carry.
Yeah, let it go.
Yeah, let it go. And that moment when you actually surrender, when you start getting the peace, you might not even have the outcome, you might not even have the answer, but there is something with that peace. They say the peace that transcends all understanding, that peace. The moment when you get that peace, it's like, okay, I don't know how it's going to end, but I'm going to be okay. That is probably the pivotal phase of the whole journey.
Because it is a journey.
so hang in there.
Absolutely.
It is a journey.
It is a journey.
And you
Yeah.
just don't know. Like every season, you can be in a great season, and then one day it can flip, and then it can flip back, but it's continuing to kind of push through. And I think with everything, mindset shift, constantly evolving. Like even though if it's tough right now, know that those good days will come, but you have to also be somewhat intentional with
True.
it.
True.
We can't just continue living in the denial phase without any acknowledgement at all, right? You have to get to a point where you see, is this what I want? Is this the life I want to live? Regardless of other people or relationships, but maybe what you're doing, how you're living, how you speak, how you talk about yourself, all
Yeah,
those
the
pieces,
words.
all the words that you put in or you consume, and you have to realize, is this what I want? For you to get to that next step, because we can stay stuck for a long
Right.
time. We are stubborn women, right? We're like, no, I'm going to stick with this type of thing and not take that
Yeah.
Yeah.
that extra step
My
to
godmother
improve.
used to say, you know, steel doesn't get to be strong until it's put through the heat.
Oh, they're
Mhm.
And a
fire.
diamond doesn't become valuable until it's put under a lot of pressure.
That is so true.
And we don't become strong, resilient women until we've gone through some challenges.
And look at us now.
Yeah.
Look at us now. I also think it's very important that you don't rush the process. Where you are today is where you are today. And then you might take 2 steps forward and falter and go back. That's okay. Be gentle with yourself.
Give yourself
You're right where
grace.
you're supposed to be.
Grace, yes.
Yeah.
So where are you right now? What are you going through? Are you fighting your way to hope? Are you holding on by faith because there's just nothing else? Or are you fighting your way to surrender and peace? Why don't you comment on this video right now? No judgment here, not from us. Just woven ones showing up for one another. Your words might be exactly what somebody else needs to read today. So until next time, God bless.
There's an invisible thread that ties us